I was reading through the subreddit Regretful Parents, and I started reading this one post that started to really it felt very poignant to the conversation that's happening on here. And I didn't finish reading it, so because I wanted to finish it on here with y'all and like insert some commentary. So yeah, let's dive in. Also, hi, my name is Shayna. I would love it if you could like, share, subscribe, all those good things. And definitely like join along in the comment section for a continued dialogue. All right, now let's dive in. It's titled, I Miss My Old Life So Much. Starting off strong. Okay. I'm a father to a 12-month-old boy, so a year doesn't matter. I do love him. His smiles make my day, and I feel proud every time he achieves the tiniest thing. But my God, am I supposed to feel this sad about the life I had before he arrived, and so stressed to the point that I feel sick and tired almost every day? No, you're not supposed to feel that way. I would like to say you're not supposed to feel that way. Let's continue reading. My wife and I dated for 5 years and then got married in 2022. She was always extremely keen to have kids. In the last couple of months before wedding, she came off the pill, saying she wanted to start trying for a family and that it could be a long time before she conceived. Of course, she got pregnant practically straight away and was already 7 weeks gone by the day of our wedding. Oh, that was real fast. And here's something that I didn't hear in this. Your wife was extremely keen on having kids. I didn't hear your side of this. Were you also extremely keen on having kids? Did she know how you stood on that? Did you guys have a conversation about this? And if you were not as equally keen on having kids as her, did you withhold that information from her just so that way you could marry her? I don't know. Genuinely just asking questions. Just asking questions. All right, let's continue. Things were already changing so quickly by then. We'd bought our first house, a fixer-upper miles and miles away from both our families, the closest house we could afford. Ooh, in this market, yeah. I began working from home a lot in a very solitary freelancing sort of job. And then 8 months post-wedding, he was born. It all just felt like too much, too quickly, and in some ways too soon. My son is generally a happy, healthy boy, but my God, he's so intense. Yeah, it's a baby. He needs constant stimulation from us. He hardly ever sits still for anything. His naps are extremely short, and if he doesn't get his way, he's begun throwing wild temper tantrums. He's a baby. Yeah. He woke us up today screaming and writhing so much that we thought he was seriously ill. Just turns out he wanted some milk, even though we'd fed him plenty overnight. Yeah. When we're watching him, that's all we can do because our house is cramped and all the rooms are closed off, and he wouldn't let us do anything else anyway. The house is a mess most of the time. I didn't have a dedicated place to work at home, so a lot of the time, I have to do it listening to kids' cartoons in the background or his yelling. Something else that I'm hearing within this is that it sounds like this person has not spent a lot of intimate time with children before the arrival of his son. As somebody that has worked a lot with children, child-free, joyfully child-free, but has worked a lot with children and has also helped in the raising of my younger cousins who are now either in college or getting ready for college. This all sounds pretty standard to me. Like, there are some kids that are less prone to temper tantrums, but I mean, they're gonna come out at some point, whether it's a big one, a little one, a bunch of tiny ones, or like one massive one. Like, yeah, it sounds like he didn't have the preparatory work for parenthood before he became a parent, which this is not speaking down on him. This is not saying, oh wait, hold up, loud playing outside. Yeah, so this isn't an insult to him. It's just a reality that a lot of people, particularly men, enter into when it comes to the realities of having a kid. Especially when they're tiny, they need a lot of attention, a lot of love, a lot of constant, individualized care, you know? And the cartoons in the background, or his yelling, yeah. Yeah, anyway, let's continue. In the space of a year, I went from having multiple hobbies, a great weekly gym routine, healthy social life, a good amount of savings in the bank, and a positive, emotionally and physically satisfying relationship with my wife to nothing. When I'm not working my job, I'm helping with the baby. When I'm not doing that, I'm laying concrete on the patio or tiling, building a pantry, insulating the attic, wiring security cameras, you name it, I've done it here. When I'm not doing that, I'm doing housework or, one second, there we go. Or running some errands, running some other errand, especially as I'm solely responsible for the household finances and admin stuff. It's exhausting. Another note, something that I'm really proud of that this writer, that the person who made this Reddit seems to be doing, is that he's really trying to be an active father. He's trying to be there for him, for the family, for the child, for his wife. He's still doing things around the house where he can, even while being the sole financial provider. Yeah, if you're going to have children, then just supplying the finances is not enough. You still have to be present. And it will be very, very exhausting. Like on both ends, whether you were the sole, not the sole, but like the main caregiver of the child, or if you are, having a full day of work and then coming in at the end of the day and you really just want to like have some time for yourself, but there's a new person in the house, just got here, has a lot of needs. Exhausted, yeah. Everything that he said, completely justified. And the reality for a lot of new parents. Let's continue. I can count the number of times I saw my friends in the last year on one hand. Ooh. My parents quietly resent me for moving so far away from them. We went from seeing each other every day to a couple times per month. I feel like I'm always running low on money. Essential bills like car insurance, which never used to be an issue, are making me extremely worried. There's little chance of a holiday this year. Money is too tight. I stopped going to the gym entirely last year and I'm struggling to find the time to start going again. I've lost weight. I don't sleep or eat as well as I used to. I feel weak and tired all the time, and I've begun having panic attacks every now and again to boot. So much so that the last time I had to travel for work, I had a full-blown attack on the train and had to go straight home to recover. Ooh. My relationship with my wife has also had the crap kicked out of it. We've gone from hardly ever arguing to making it a regular occurrence. Our sex life is slowly dying off. She gained 30 pounds during the pregnancy and hasn't been able to drop any of it since giving birth, which can happen. A flag went ping, but we're continuing on. I know it's hard for her too, especially because she only works part-time, she spends more time with the baby than I do. I've tried to be supportive, even offering to look after the baby more so she can exercise however she wants, but she isn't interested, even though she really wants to lose weight. I mean, listen, I don't know postpartum. But I know that it does change. Like after you have kids, your body changes drastically. Also, I don't know how long the hormonal period for that lasts. In fact, let's look it up together. Okay, so when it comes to postpartum, it's sounding like there's an acute period that is from 6 to 12 hours after giving birth. That sounds like it has a lot of medical stuff attached to it. Then there's a second phase, which lasts 2 to 6 weeks. And this is when a bunch of other things can start kicking in, especially the emotional status right over here. So that's when that can start to change for a lot of new mothers. And then there's a third stage that can last up to 6 months. That being said, postpartum depression can linger for months or even years if left untreated. So I don't know what's going on with mom. I'm not saying that she's depressed or anything. I'm just saying that when it comes to the experience of the body after giving birth, there's a lot that is trying to be reconfigured emotionally, psychologically, physically. Like, just sounds to me like mom's going through it. Mom's going through it and dad is also going through it. Anyway, we're back. Let's continue. The more you know. No doubt that some of my issues stem from me moving away from my family and friends, but at least before the baby, I had the time and energy to visit them. And if not, do things to keep my mental health in check. Now I don't have any of that. Our son has started to go to kindergarten. I thought it was 12 months. Our son has started to go to kindergarten a couple times a week now. Kindergarten? Maybe he means daycare. We're gonna say he means daycare, and that has made a difference. But I just find myself using that time to desperately catch up on everything else which needs doing. Every single day, I find myself daydreaming about the life I used to have, wishing I could get even just a scrap of it back. I used to have big plans of doing more major work to our house, traveling to a few more interesting places, going to a graduate school part-time, thinking that maybe I'd be able to do it even with kids. I'm laughing at my past self now for even considering those things. Once you have a kid, it really is game over for you. I'm not saying that's necessarily the case. I'm just saying the game is completely switched up. But in this person's situation, they feel like it's game over. Everything just gets a lot harder to do once you have kids. My wife seems to have accepted that quite well, but a year in and I'm still struggling with it. But just knowing that a subreddit like this exists makes me feel a bit better. Harboring these sorts of views about being a parent and feeling like a monster for doing so is not pleasant at all. My hair keeps getting bigger and bigger, so I'm just gonna take care of this as we wrap this up. But yeah, there is an idea that like parenting is supposed to look a certain way, and there are a lot of people that are paid a good amount of money to make parenting look easy. That's why a lot of these like family vlogs, which also I do, they terrify me, because please have some privacy for your children. But there's a lot of stigma against not wanting kids. There's also a lot of stigma again, like I would argue even more stigma against parents that are unhappy being parents, love their kids, unhappy being parents. And one, I'm happy that this writer, I'm very happy that this Reddit group exists, not only for the parents that are in this situation, but also for people who are considering being child free and do not know if this is something that they want, so that way they can have a nice honest look into what the lives of a lot of parents are like. I'm not saying it's all, nor am I even saying it's most. I don't know. I'm just saying it's a lot of them. It's a lot of people that type into that subreddit. There's a lot of people that share their thoughts there. It's a lot. It's a lot. And it's a lot of people that never thought that it would be them. I don't like the way that bun looks, but we're going to continue on. It also sounds like to me that the wife had more realistic expectations of how life was going to be different with kids. He says that his wife sounds like she's resigned to the fact that it's game over. I use hyphens because I don't think it's necessarily game over. You just really have to switch up your game plan. It's the game isn't over. You're just playing a different game now, and the game is a lot harder. The game is exponentially harder. And it sounds like she's at least read a couple lines of the rule book of that new game that you guys are now in. So, yeah. I don't have any advice for him. I'm not going to share any advice to this to this very real person who shared that. I'm using this more as a cautionary tale, as a means of disseminating information to people that are on the fence about child-free living. And while this is not a paid, like, I make content for women, for the girls and the gays, if you're out there. I don't know if you guys follow me, but if you do, hey. But this subreddit, this subreddit entry was made by a man. and his experience, his unexpected experience of fatherhood. And there's a lot of men that love to talk about how much they want to be a father with no idea of the reality of it. Now, they could get tastes of it. I've talked about this extensively. They could get tastes of it. You could mentor, you could work with after school programs, you could help out with your younger cousins, your younger siblings, younger family members. You could work into babies. There are ways that you could start getting like snippets of what this grander picture of parenting could look like. But most don't. There's an idea that they don't want to be touched of what fatherhood would look like for them. And by not touching it, they are not getting the full, they're not gathering information. And so when they become fathers and it's not what they thought that it would be, all of a sudden it's like, you are truly thrust into a brand new world beyond your wildest dreams. A lot of women and like little girls, we have been raised to have these snippets, to play with the little Barbie dolls, to, especially if you're the oldest daughter, heaven help you if you're the oldest daughter of immigrant parents, hail. When it comes to assisting with the child rearing, whether it's of your younger siblings, younger cousins, younger family members, when it comes to cooking and cleaning, there is a lot of expectations of what snippets of parenting look like. So we have a more fully rounded idea, which is why when we say we do not want children, we know what we're talking about. A lot of guys don't. It sounds like this guy didn't. So for the ladies out there, if you want kids, go for it. I'm not trying to stop you. I'm just advocating for women to get all the information possible. And what I will pose to the women watching this and have gathered something from here, something that I would pose to you if you are kind of on the fence, or if you're in a relationship, or if you're dating somebody and like you're not quite sure, really get to talk about the child thing. Talk about the child thing in detail, because it sounds like this guy knew her point of view, but didn't talk about his point of view. He didn't even talk about his point of view in the subreddit. We don't know where he stood before they had children. And I think that that's an important thing to know. I think that's a very important thing to know. So, got a couple other questions kind of percolating in here, but I want to organize them first before I spew all of them at you. So we're gonna say that's all for now. Like, share, subscribe, all those good things, and let's have a nice little discussion in the comment section. What are your thoughts? What are your feels? Yes, okay, that's all. Okay, bye.